Caitlin Clark has done is grown the WNBA exponentially. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years. And as it pertains to draft viewership, she did in 5 days what would have taken 5 years.
She walked into the league as a rookie and turned it upside down. Within weeks, ticket sales exploded, TV ratings skyrocketed, and one name was suddenly on every network, jersey, and headline: Caitlin Clark.
All of this success is due to the presence of one player in the league, and that is a generational talent named Caitlin Clark. She's the reason the WNBA just won the lottery.
But while fans celebrated and cities cashed in, not everyone was clapping. Behind the scenes, whispers grew louder. Players like A'ja Wilson, once untouchable, found themselves eclipsed, their spotlight dimmed by a 22-year-old from Iowa. And instead of applause, jealousy crept in.
But they don't want it to grow if it's certain people at the face. And there is still this undertone of jealousy that for some reason I cannot get around calling it anything else but that, because I don't know what else it could be. I thought it was going to get better this season, but it hasn't. There are still people who seemingly, to me, feel like they just don't want Caitlin to be a part.
How did Caitlin manage to stir an entire league, outshine its biggest stars, and leave even seasoned veterans rattled? This isn't just a story about talent. It's about power, pride, and the silent tension brewing in the WNBA. From the moment Caitlin Clark stepped onto the WNBA court, everything changed. The league didn't just gain a player, it gained a phenomenon, a generational talent who brought with her an energy the WNBA hadn't seen before.
By calculations, she's responsible for 26.5% of the league-wide activity. The first time a WNBA team has drawn 300,000 fans in a season.
But we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings. We saw the merchandise sales. We saw the attendance. But y'all want to make it about something else.
In just her first 5 weeks, Caitlin accomplished what would have taken the league 5 years. Viewership numbers didn't just rise, they exploded. Her debut game drew 2.2 million viewers. Her regular season games, averaging 1.2 million. That's a staggering 199% increase over games without her. It wasn't a fluke, it was a pattern. If Caitlin Clark was playing, people were watching. And it wasn't just TV. She turned empty seats into packed arenas.
Is box office. She is a star.
But the attention she brought to the sport, hopefully going to have a residual effect for years to come.
The Indiana Fever, a team once brushed aside, became a must-see attraction. Attendance surged. Over 300,000 fans poured in to watch them play, breaking records and setting new ones in the process. 177,000 per game. For the first time in WNBA history, one team became the league's centerpiece, not because of a stacked roster or championship streak, but because of one player. Caitlin Clark.
The ratings were phenomenal because of Caitlin Clark. She didn't want to take credit for all of those ratings, but we all realize that Caitlin Clark single-handedly is responsible for the WNBA mattering.
Her impact extended beyond the hardwood. Merch sales skyrocketed. Her jersey became the hottest item in the league, outselling every other player, male or female. She wasn't just creating fans. She was building a movement, a cultural shift. And she did it all without demanding the spotlight. She signed autographs. She smiled for little girls wearing her jersey. She played with heart and grit.
So there comes the female GOAT, and these women are going from having 3,000 people in their arenas to 20,000.
And above all, she competed like a maniac. There's never been a rookie season like this. Not in women's basketball, not even close. She took a struggling franchise and made it relevant. She took a league starving for attention and turned it into national conversation. For the first time, people who never cared about the WNBA were suddenly paying attention, and it was all because of her.
What Caitlin Clark does is kind of simple, really. She shows up at games, she signs autographs, she talks to little girls wearing jerseys, she smiles to the crowd, and then here's the most important thing. She competes like a maniac. I mean, like a maniac.
Caitlin Clark didn't just join the league. She rewrote the rules the moment she did. But with all that success came something darker: resentment. While fans were chanting her name and cities were cashing in, the mood inside the league wasn't entirely celebratory. Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise didn't just captivate the world, it disrupted a fragile ecosystem within the WNBA. Players who had been grinding for years, waiting for recognition, suddenly saw the spotlight shift entirely to a 22-year-old rookie. And for some, that shift wasn't just uncomfortable, it was infuriating.
The regular season attendance, they averaged more than 17,000 fans.
The WNBA tried to capitalize on her popularity and crammed a lot of games in over a short amount of time, playing against the best teams in the WNBA.
Aja Wilson, a multiple-time MVP, should have been at the center of every conversation. But now every headline, every commercial, every jersey on a kid's back said, Clark. And that didn't sit well with her. Though she never publicly attacked Caitlin, the tension was unmistakable. Interviews got colder. Comments became passive-aggressive. The message? She hasn't earned this yet.
Thank you so much for calling attention to our sport that literally no one cares about.
But the truth is, Caitlin didn't just earn it. She dominated the narrative through sheer force of impact. Still, some WNBA veterans weren't ready to let her have that moment.
There is a lot of appropriate attention on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, and we found out that the Fever Storm game from over the weekend drew 2.2 million viewers, which is massive. The WNBA has 18 games this season where they've had more than 1 million viewers average, and 16 of those 18 have featured Caitlin Clark. So you cannot deny the connectivity of Caitlin Clark playing basketball and people wanting to watch. If she's playing, they will come, they will watch the game.
Then there's Angel Reese. Loud, unapologetic, and never one to back down, she's been at the center of the jealousy narrative. Her rivalry with Caitlin dates back to college, but instead of softening in the pros, it intensified. Reese's remarks, side eyes, and social media jabs painted a picture. She didn't just dislike Caitlin, she resented her. And it wasn't just personal. It was about what Caitlin represented. To them, Caitlin's success came wrapped in layers of privilege. Race, media bias, and favoritism.
The event usually averages about 14 total viewers, but this year the WNBA draft won record ratings and nearly doubled its normal viewership. That added audience is largely thanks to Caitlin Clark, who went #1 overall to something called the Indiana Fever.
The WNBA had tried for decades to elevate its stars, but suddenly, with one white girl from Iowa, they had their golden ticket. The unspoken tension wasn't just about basketball, it was about identity, legacy, and visibility. Players like Aja Wilson had long fought for the league's growth, but they never received this kind of push. Their jerseys didn't sell out, their games didn't get primetime slots, and they were expected to stay quiet while Caitlin got what they had always dreamed of. But here's the thing, Caitlin never asked for that crown. She just showed up and changed the game. The fans followed her, the cameras followed her, the numbers didn't lie. And yet, instead of being welcomed as a rising tide lifting all boats, she was met with cold shoulders and backhanded praise.
Her regular season games were watched by 1.2 million viewers on average, which is 199% more.
There's a word for what's happening: jealousy. Pure, unfiltered envy masked as critique. Some players didn't want Caitlin to succeed because her success was a mirror showing what the league could have been if it had the right face, the right marketing, the right moment. And Caitlin Clark was all of that rolled into one. What should have been a unifying moment for the WNBA, finally having a player that brought in record-shattering attention, turned into a battleground of egos. Instead of rallying around her, some chose to tear her down, questioning her authenticity, her toughness, her right to shine. But the uncomfortable truth remains. Caitlin Clark is not just a product of hype. She is the moment. And her presence exposed everything the league had failed to do for years.
Caitlin Clark is just such a class act. She was incredible, breaking all types of records, and that's something she was certainly proud of. We saw lots of smiles on the court.
Caitlin is the face right now, and that's also good. Like, she's selling out gyms, of course. Like, why would you hate against that?
As Aja Wilson watches her dominance slowly get eclipsed by a rookie, the jealousy isn't speculation, it's showing, not in words, but in silence. In sidesteps, in interviews that mention media narratives more than basketball. The WNBA got what it always wanted, a star that could carry the league. But some of its biggest names just weren't ready for it to be Caitlin Clark.
and 45% of broadcast value came from Fever games. And the league's merchandise sales went up 500%, with Clark number 1, followed by Reese number 2.
Caitlin Clark didn't just boost the WNBA's visibility. She detonated an economic bomb that rippled far beyond the court. The numbers are staggering, almost surreal. 1 rookie, 1 season. And yet the financial impact she had on the league and the city of Indianapolis was something even seasoned marketing executives couldn't have engineered. Let's start with the city. $36 million. That's the amount of economic value Caitlin Clark generated for Indianapolis in her rookie year. Hotels, restaurants, bars, local businesses all saw spikes in revenue the moment her name was announced as the number 1 draft pick.
But perhaps most astonishing is the economic impact on Indianapolis, which Brewer says is upwards of $36 million. This is one 22-year-old from Iowa.
Fans traveled from across the country just to catch a glimpse of her. Overnight, Indiana Fever games became tourism events, not just basketball games. But that was only the beginning. League-wide, her influence was even more mind-blowing. Caitlin Clark was responsible for 26.5% of all WNBA activity in the season. 1 player out of 12 teams. She brought more attention, engagement, and revenue than entire franchises combined. And it wasn't just hype. The proof was everywhere, starting with television.
Caitlin Clark has been the best thing, the most dominant thing. Remember, there's been good players come out of college, but nobody really cared. We'd seen it. Nobody really cared.
Before Clark's debut, WNBA games averaged modest viewership. But when she played, 1.2 million viewers on average. Some games hit 2.2 million. To put that into perspective, those are NBA-level numbers. Clark nearly tripled the WNBA's normal ratings and had 16 of the 18 most-watched games of the season. People weren't watching the WNBA, they were watching her.
Caitlin didn't bring racism to the WNBA. This has been happening. And that, I think, is what's been such a shock for all of us, that other people are surprised by this. We've been trying to tell you. And once again, for so long, as a player, I would almost joke. I'd be like, I would have loved to have shut up and dribble. In so many ways, I would have loved to have been valued as a basketball player. I would have been loved to have been spoken about just for my play. I think everybody in the league can say that. But nobody ever let us do that.
And then there's the merchandise. Her jersey didn't just sell, it dominated. Caitlin Clark's jersey outsold every other player's by a wide margin. League-wide merchandise sales rose by 500%. with her name alone accounting for a massive portion of those sales. In fact, Angel Reese, one of Clark's biggest critics, couldn't even match her merchandise numbers, despite also being a top draft pick. The message from the fans was loud and clear. Caitlin sells, not just as an athlete, but as a brand. As the brand, even the WNBA's broadcast value got a historic bump. 45% of the league's total broadcast value came from games featuring the Indiana Fever. Think about that. Half the media value of an entire league was tied to one team. And that team's value, it soared. The Indiana Fever, once a small market afterthought, is now worth over $300 million, thanks largely to Clark's presence. But here's where things take a frustrating turn. While Caitlin generated tens of millions in revenue, she took home a rookie salary of just $75,000.
Most influential female athletes right now: Coco Gauff, 10, Juju Watkins, number 9, Cameron Brent, 8, Paige Beckers, number 7, Sabrina Ionescu, number 6, Asia Wilson. So Asia's not going to be happy either. Jakari Richardson was number 4, Simone Biles number 3 right here. I can't quite get past the fact that Simone Biles is behind Angel Reese. Caitlin Clark, she ran away with number 1. I don't think that should surprise us. She came away with number 1. Caitlin Clark is redefining the entire landscape of women's sports. Her dominance on the court has shattered outdated narratives about women's sports, proving that women's basketball can be just as marketable and widely watched as men's. But the Caitlin Clark effect goes far beyond her performance. It's reshaping the entire sports landscape. Her presence alone boosts the WNBA attendance by 105% compared to games without her, while road games featuring her Indiana Fever see an 87% increase in opponent home attendance. Her rookie debut sparked a staggering 200% jump in WNBA viewership. While Fever home games drew a league-high 186,000 fans last season, a 265% increase from 2023.
That's not a typo. That's real. A player responsible for transforming an entire sports league is earning less than some ball boys in the NBA. Meanwhile, rookie players in the NBA with nowhere near her impact are pulling in upwards of $10 million to $13.8 million a year. The contrast isn't just unfair, it's insulting. This glaring wage gap didn't go unnoticed. Fans were furious. Analysts were baffled. How could the league allow its biggest asset to earn pennies while carrying it on her back? The answer lies in the outdated and restrictive revenue model of the WNBA. With the NBA still owning 42% of the league, the WNBA's profit-sharing structure severely limits what players can earn, even if they're responsible for driving most of the income. Yet through all this, Caitlin remained unbothered. She didn't complain. She didn't demand. She just kept showing up, competing, and delivering highlight after highlight. And in doing so, she sparked a larger conversation. If the league wants to grow, it has to evolve economically, structurally, and culturally. Caitlin Clark has already proven what's possible. Now the question isn't whether she can deliver, it's whether the WNBA is ready to catch up to the level she's elevated it to. Because right now, she's not just playing for herself or the Indiana Fever. She's dragging an entire league into a future it never dreamed was possible, and doing it with a salary that wouldn't even cover the price of a courtside seat. Caitlin Clark didn't just enter the WNBA, she reshaped it. In a single season, she redefined what success looks like for women's basketball, turning empty arenas into sold-out events and pushing television ratings into uncharted territory. She brought in millions for her team, her city, and the league. Yet she did it all while facing doubt, envy, and an industry that still undervalues its stars. Critics like Aja Wilson and Angel Reese can try to downplay her impact, but the numbers speak louder than any shade thrown in interviews or subtle jabs on social media. Caitlin isn't just the face of a franchise, she's the force dragging the entire league into the spotlight. And despite the jealousy, despite the resistance, she keeps showing up, keeps delivering, and keeps proving that one player really can change everything. The WNBA may not have been ready for Caitlin Clark, but now it has no choice but to rise with her or be left behind.